smo v Delavskem domu Trbovlje, a se imamo lepo.
Thinking about the dome seems like very daunting, but...
I cloned the voice of my deceased grandfather.
Grozljivki iz 80-ih, 90-ih, ker me zanimajo practical effects, zato uporabljam veliko latek.
Or two, you distribute it online to people, and then you automatically disqualify a bunch of people that don't have a VR headset.
Yeah, you have to go to your parents' basement and dust off the old computer. It's an experience in itself.
To gather very basic brainwave data and to use that to modify interesting projections.
Umetniki, ki so bili včasih rudari ali pa gospe, ki že celo življenje živijo v teh rudarskih območjih, kjer so v bistvu so se zelo drugače in emocionalno spopadali z načinom življenja tukaj, ne?
But the danger to me is that we focus too much on technology. So what I said before, to me, art needs to come from like this very deep human levels, from the subconscious level.
Hello and welcome to the 17th episode of the third season of Kritiški posladek, or with the English title Critical Treat, a podcast where we chat about visual art and all things assorted, relating to art or not. Today we are out and about in Trbovlje to visit and discuss Speculum Artium. This is a festival for new media art located in a town brimming with remnants of recent history. The festival has been annually taking over the Workers Center of Trbovlje since 2009 and occasionally spilling out on the streets as well. Speculum Artium was first held a year earlier in Ljubljana under the leadership of the Academy of Fine Arts and Design. The following year, it came under the Culture Institute Delavski Trbovlje management. The festival was born at the transition of a once mining industrial town entering into its next development era. This is in a crisis of the town's identity and societal changes. It was only natural for the festival to deal with technology and our relationship with it. The festival can represent one way of shedding off of its industrial history. Speculum Artium can thus be understood as one of the answers of what now. Some of the artworks at the festival have since dealt with the historical context and cultural heritage of Trbovlje, while others are addressing a more general relationship we have with technology and new media in the context of arts, society and life. This year's edition is focusing on the connection between art, technology and science, and the festival is showing works from 27 artists from Slovenia, Germany, Japan, Denmark, Spain, Colombia, the Netherlands, Romania, Croatia, Serbia and Turkey. Other exhibitors include students from the Kunstuniversität Linz, the University of Tampere, the Academy of Fine Arts of University of Nova Gorica, the University of Rijeka, the Academy of Fine Arts and Design, and the Faculty of Natural Sciences and Engineering of University of Ljubljana. All of this is spiced up with some additional program, roundtables, meetings with artists, workshops, and even more. And this episode is presented as a series of shorter interviews with a selection of artists from the festival. The conversations are structured around the same questions for each guest. They touch upon their work, about the use and how they view new technology, and about the experience installing and placing the works at the festival. Hosting the shows are Maša Nemec and Jazbec. We work as critics, curators, writers and artists. You're listening to the Critical Treat, Kritiški posladek, a para-artistic project where we talk about contemporary art, current exhibitions and the general topics about the cultural sector. We often invite in our studio guests that are in this or that way tied into the culture art world. Everything mentioned in this episode, all the references and other art and non-art related things are linked in the descriptions. If you like what you hear and what we do, you can support us by buying us coffee or more on Buy Me a Coffee. We will include the link in the descriptions. Don't be shy and make us less broke. Lepo pozdravljeni. Poslušate kritiški posed.
Posladek.
Today our first guests are Christina Bodnarescu and George Urse with their work Digital Heaven. This is an interactive one-screen projection as well as an on-stage performance. Both use at their core the same immersive technology that results in a video-generative piece that uses body movements to create animated graphics. When standing in front of it, it feels a bit like a mirror that transforms your body into an animation. The work has 6 distinct modes, each with its own visual effects and color scheme, while the performance includes a dancer that in unison with the generated graphics creates a compelling choreography. The work allows individuals or groups to engage in an interactive fun of self-exploration. So thank you for being here. Welcome. Let's get to the questions. So the first thing I wonder is what was the main interest or questions that you wanted to kind of research, or what sparked this creative process for this work?
So Digital Heaven is a dance performance that started from the idea of speculative human evolution. So we wondered what would happen in the future when humans and machines and nature coexist harmoniously. And we gave birth to this performance, which situates technology in an interesting position, where organic is the new thing that matters, and the technology becomes transcends its artificial state, so becomes organic. So I guess posthumanism is a keyword here.
Posthumanism and how technology evolves in a future where the world is kind of engulfed by nature. How does it survive?
So in a sense, like a future where machines take over, but at the same time...
Machines already took over. Now it's nature's time to shine. Curse. Yes.
To retake what was theirs already. Okay. So you said that you were kind of into this posthumanism and all of that. So in what kind of way does your creative process work? How does the technology come in place? Especially when we are talking about posthumanism and kind of forgetting technology. How do you engage with technology to kind of bring forward these ideas?
A lot of new technologies kind of influence our work. Sometimes the creative process starts from a simple sketch. Other times a new technology just kind of sparks a new idea, and then we kind of follow this thread that this new technology embarks us on.
And also we use technology as a tool to talk about technology.
So since you're already mentioning like the evolvement of technology, how do you view the rapid development of technology, and do you feel it necessary to keep up with the trends and also integrate them in your work?
Yeah, I think this is inevitable. You know, it's exciting and also scary at the same time. And I feel if we don't keep up with it, we're gonna become history before we're dead or something like that. So we need, I think, artists these days, especially new media artists, need to keep up with technologies and integrate them in their works. It's part of who we are as humans right now.
Either you follow the technology or you lose your voice, basically.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. More uncomfortable question. What was the kind of most frustrating or biggest problem you faced when you were developing this?
I think it would be the gesture recognition part of the performance. We have this integrated, and at some point in the performance, the dancer has the ability to change some certain scenes with certain gestures. So we wanted to have this improvisational part present in the performance. And this was a bit tricky to program because it's way easier to program something to work according to a timeline rather than, just give it freedom to react at some random time. So this was a bit trickier to be able to give freedom to both the performer and the computer. So to have this human-computer interactivity in an improvisational way.
Did you also stumble upon almost giving up because of that?
No, when technology fails, humans enter and solve the problem. Yeah. So if there were some times when the gesture just wouldn't trigger, so we press the button and
so it's like a backup plan that we have. It's a backup plan, but I would add that it's really interesting when technology fails, let's say, because it's that moment when actually interesting things happen, because it's really like a conversation with the machine. The performer tries to do a certain gesture, it's not recognized, and then you have to adapt to recalibrate yourself and to enter the same with the same energy into that moment, so you can trigger it again, or just spark this conversation with the machine.
I understand that. I kind of feel like I've tried that work here, the UI on vacation work. I don't know if you've seen it. It's in the downstairs. It's like a AI on vacation, and it's meant to be like an infuriating AI that you talk to. So basically, you ask the AI to do something, and the AI then it's like just snarky about it. Like, no, I'm on vacation, sorry. But, it also kind of comes with this. You try to get something, and then it becomes like a weird conversation, because I try to kind of let it go to the vacation, and then it was still stuck in its way, like trying to be snarky towards me. So it became an interesting kind of. One last thing is, what new technologies do you see as promising for the development of new media art, and which new technologies are you most interested at the moment, beside obviously?
So we recently had the chance to have some fun with an EEG headset that reads your brain activity, and we actually did an installation with people modifying the picture and
bringing to life
something
nature
with their while they were concentrating. So if they concentrated something,
this is something that you want to develop further.
We already did this this summer.
It's called Arborescent Neural. It's an installation which talks about nature and uses technology to do that. And I think this is a new kind of technology that could be potentially, very powerful. Talking about Neuralink, I mean, it's a bit further. But these headsets that you can usually use for meditation are a powerful tool for artists to use, to gather very basic brainwave data, and to do that, to use that to modify interesting projections, or even to create music, or you can do so many things with it.
I'm familiar with the EEG devices, and there's also some YouTuber that she was using it to play games and stuff like that. So it's like there is a lot of potential there. I agree.
Yes.
So thank you for being with us, and
thanks for having us.
Congratulations with the exhibition.
Thank you very much.
Ekola z nami Barbara Jazbec z delom EERIE. EERIE je serija interaktivnih skulptur, ki se naslanjajo na potrošniško družbo ter digitalne hišne ljubljenčke. Razstavljen je troglavi Furby, robopes s človeško kibernetsko glavo in dve skulpturi, ki upodabljajo umetničino podobo v obliki maske oziroma kibernetske sence umetnice. Dela so polna dodatnih elektronskih delov, novih zvokov, vzorcev, premikanja. Troglavi Furby je hkrati nag in preoblečen v nekaj, kar najbolj spominja na silikonsko sluz. Robopes s kamero namesto očesa na človeškem obrazu spominja na Terminatorja. Delo se torej upenja med distopično prihodnost, kibernetsko grozljivko in nočno moro, ko nas bodo nadomestili robotski ljudje, sesalci. Interaktivna dela so tako v bistvu zelo strašljiva in tudi igrivo zabavna. Ok, torej prvo vprašanje. Kaj je bilo glavno vodilo oziroma vprašanje, zanimanje oziroma interes, ki je v bistvu sprožilo to tvoje ustvarjanje in raziskovanje tega konkretnega dela?
Ja, jaz sem zaključila magisterij v Linzu, Interface Cultures, in tam smo imeli en predmet, ki se mu reče Media Archaeology. In ta predmet me je začel zanimati, ko so te pozabljene tehnologije, in takrat sem se spomnila, da imam doma to mojo Furby igračko, in to je bila prva inspiracija, da iz tega predmeta, kako nekako te pozabljene tehnologije nekako povabiti nazaj in z njimi nekaj novega narediti. V bistvu, ja, to je bil prvi.
Eden tisti Furby torej na razstavi je tvoj osebni From Back in the Days, una druga dva pa sta mogoče malo bolj modernejša.
Ja, v bistvu je bila tudi inspiracija nekako to, kako recikliramo tehnologije, ker se mi zdi, da v današnjem času je sploh problematičen, ko toliko zavržemo tehnologije in kupujemo non-stop nove, in me res zanima tudi nekako to, kako ozaveščati tudi o tej reciklaži, tako da je to nek background od tem projekti, ki v bistvu malo bolj izgleda crazy pa creepy, ampak v zadju je pa tudi nekako ta problematika o odpadkih v tehnologiji.
Kako pa potem izgleda tvoj ustvarjalni proces in v kateri točki na nek način stopa tehnologija v tvoje delo?
Nekako inspiracija za moje projekte je vedno tudi nekako iz mojega otroštva, ker jaz sem big fan tudi grozljivk iz 80-ih in 90-ih, in zato tudi nekako iz tam iščem to inspiracijo, ker me zanimajo te tudi practical effects, zato tudi uporabljam veliko lateks pa teh fizičnih materialov, zato ker danes večinoma tudi vidimo v filmih, da je vse CGI, mene pa nekako zanima tudi ta dotik in materiali, in to je nekako tudi velik proces in inspiracija, da gledam filme iz 80-ih pa 90-ih, da dobim nekako navdih in inspiracijo za moja umetniška dela.
Najljubši film?
Beetlejuice, in zdaj glih pride ven.
Si že šla, nisi še šla gledati?
Nisem še šla, pa Gremlins, to so dva, ko sta bila non-stop na repeat.
Ok, kaj pa pol ta del s tehnologijo? Ok, imamo ta lateks in to v bistvu nekaj poustvarja, torej ta bolj pristen gor, vsaj pri teh tvojih Furbijih in to. Kaj pa potem bolj ta tehnološki del, mogoče tudi ta robotika, pa ta princip?
Ja, sploh to je pa prišlo na to, zato ker mi na magisteriju smo se tudi učili osnove programiranja in pa se tudi učimo, kako naprimer te senzorčke skupljati in malo programirati, in s tem je pol prišla inspiracija, da kako v bistvu ne bi zmer nekaj novega kupila, ampak da vzamem ven iz igrač različne te senzorje in te microcontrollerje in da z nekaj novega z njimi naredim, in pol ne vem, to je nekako tudi ta neka inspiracija, da pol recikliram to obstoječo tehnologijo in ji dodam, ne vem, novo življenje.
No zdaj, on that note o recikliranju tehnologije, kako pa potem gledaš na ta hiter razvoj tehnologije, ko je vedno nekaj novega, ne? A se ti zdi, da je tudi potrebno slediti tem novim trendom in tem novim tehnologijam za pač tvoja dela ali pa nasplošno za umetnike?
Ja, mislim, da umetniki zmer iščemo nove, kako bi rekla, mislim, za umetnika je zmer navdih, kadar pride nova tehnologija, da kako jo lahko čim prej uporabimo, pa da imamo nekaj originalnega. Sam je pa tudi dobra lastnost naš umetnikov, da tudi ozaveščamo, da koja nova tehnologija prinaša, in da je naša naloga, da naučimo tudi mlade, da bojo znali živeti z novo tehnologijo. Ja, upam, da sem odgovorila na vprašanje. Včasih me malo zanjasel v drugo stran.
Kaj pa pol zdaj konkretno pri tej tvoji postavitvi? A si imela mogoče kakšno posebno preglavico pri postavljanju dela ali pa pri ustvarjanju tega konkretnega dela, ki je zdaj na razstavi?
Mislim, da to je kar serija, ko sem jo začela 2021, in za vsak, ko nekako grem kam, probam najti kakšne te trgovine z drugo roko in pol v njih najdem te nove igrače. Naprimer, ta Furby je bil z mojega otroštva, pa imam še robotskega psa, ko sem ga kupila na Japonskem, ker sem bila tam 3 mesece na izmenjavi za moj magisterij, tako da zmer kamor grem, me zanima ta second hand market in da vidim, kakšne imajo, in pol to je nekakšna inspiracija.
Kakšen je pa ta ratio tvojega oživljanja teh igrač mogoče? Se potem ti tam ene stvari mogoče ne delajo več, pa jih poskušaš skušaš oživeti, pa potem se tam s temi čipi hecaš, pa tako malih skup sestavljaš. Ti je to veselje ali včasih mogoče malo frustrating?
Ja, bolj kot ne kar veselje, no, ker je tak en eksperiment, ker nikoli ne veš, ko bo ratal, pa včasih tudi dodam kak svoj senzor, ampak večinoma je uživancija. Drugače pa imam tudi kakšne kolege, ko mi kdaj kaj pomagajo pri kakem programiranju, ker jaz sem bolj iz umetniškega backgrounda.
Potem je tvoj arhiv oziroma neko skladišče v bistvu kaj iz nekega hororja, polno teh na pol sestavljenih, mrdžanih, porezanih igračk.
Ja, mogoče ima moj partner že malo dost, ker nama domov nosim sam.
Pa na polički, pa nad televizorjem, po kopalnici.
Ja, že ni pleca, že kam spraviti, ampak ja. Ampak je zanimivo. Ne vem, to me veseli in je že zmer od otroštva ta nek uncanny, nekaj čudnega, zmer najdem lepoto v teh čudnih in zanimivih stvarih. Ne vem.
Katere nove tehnologije se ti zdijo obetavne za razvoj sodobne novomedijske umetnosti in v bistvu, kire sodobne tehnologije pa se trenutno najbolj privlačijo še? Česa bi še tudi še mogoče lotila ali pa se pripravljaš?
Ne vem, glih, zdaj sem tudi iz Urse elektronike in ko sem bila tam na razstavi, sem je zdel, da je večinoma, se mi zdi, da je že malo preveč projektov za umetno inteligenco, se mi zdi že malo tako, ne vem, na hiter neki narejen, da smo večinoma sam ekran in pol zrendan AI video, to se mi zdi že malo tako, no, ne vem, easy tool mogoče za umetnike, ampak se tudi meni zdi zanimiv, sem tudi že jaz uporabljala, ampak drugač pa ne vem, sploh robotika me zanima, ko bo naprej. Sploh če spremljate, kje te Boston Dynamic, ko razvijajo, ne vem, zanimive robote. To v tem smislu me zanima za naprej.
Najlepša hvala.
Hvala.
Bi še kaj dodala?
Ne, to je to.
Čestitke za tvoje delo na razstavi.
Hvala.
Beautiful.
Upam, da je dobro.
Our next guest is
Maarten Isaäk de Heer.
Dancing with the Dead Animals. It's a half-dot animated projection. We find ourselves in the digital purgatory in a sort of surreal digital landscape flying among a plethora of animals. The author has digitized several dead animals that he has found over time in his surroundings, and the work explores the idea of death, its celebration, and its meaning in our society. It subverts our relations to roadkill, bringing them to the center of our attention. In a way, it makes us more aware of our own mortality and the role we play in nature. Thank you, for being here. One tiny thing before we start with the segment. Can you pronounce your name and surname so we have a correct pronunciation for later, for reference?
Yes, shall I do it right now?
Yeah.
Okay, mijn naam is Maarten Isaäk de Heer.
See, I think we'll end up really just cutting them and posting them.
Maarten Isaäk de Heer. But you can. This is a T-shirt I got from the apartment I'm living in.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, they're called Maarten, and well, it's kind of like the same name. So
it's a very nice T-shirt, actually.
Yeah, I love it.
This is their merch for the apartments.
Yep.
Wow,
it's
very fancy.
Yep.
I like that. So yeah, what was the main interest that kind of started your creative process for this work, or what did you wanted to research with it?
Well, it started with the fact that I like hiking and cycling a lot, and during these hikes and tours, I see a lot of roadkill, dead animals lying around on the side of the road. And I have been just carrying those animals into the bushes out of some kind of respect. And later I started photographing them to create some kind of a photo archive. The way we handle these deaths, we don't care at all about these animals. People just ride around them or ride over them until they are as flat as a disc. It's kind of fascinating, I think, because death in our or human death is very we are very conscious with it.
It's a very big thing and quite a taboo.
But there is a border where it flips, and there we really don't mind about our deaths anymore. So
I mean, human deaths as well.
Yeah, but on the other hand, I see humans as animals, so for me there's no big difference.
I understand. Yeah, also when we're talking about deaths in numbers, then it becomes detached.
Yes.
Yeah, it's very easy to say, there was like 1,000 casualties. No comprehension whatsoever what that means.
Yeah, and then one day I was screwing off a lamp in my apartment, a lamp with a bulb inside. Mm-hmm. And in this lamp there were a lot of moths and flies. They just were cooked by the lamp, and I just threw them away. And it's just a part of life that you just dispose of all the dead bodies you find around you.
Except human ones. That's when we draw the line.
Yeah. Well, no, we have pets also.
Yeah, that's true.
And
but that's generally taken care by the owners mostly.
Yeah,
still
true. But you take them to the vet, and they will kill your pet for you because it's humane, and then they will dispose of your pet, which means they will throw it in the trash can.
No, it's a special trash can. maybe it is a special trash can, probably biohazard trash can. In that sense, but doesn't have the same kind of ritual honor that we infuse for human.
I'm not sure. It's
funerals.
50-50. I tried to get in contact to scan animals at the trash. What do you mean, like the disposal of the dead animals? Mm-hmm. There was no way to get in. But I also spoke to vets, and they said no. We just we put them in a sack, and they go to the pet cemetery because of the owners, or we just dispose of them in the gray. I think it depends on the size of the animal.
Yeah, there is a lot to consider when you dispose of a body because of like
hygienic.
Hygienic, and if with big bodies, like if it's a horse, that can attract a lot of animals and all of those things, and then disease, etc., etc., etc. Yeah. If we summarize what you just said, it's kind of in a way to pay respect to the animals that you encountered. That's what kind of interested you.
Yeah, there's this word Diskrepanz in German. It's not so much I'm not an animal rights activist. I just find it very unfair of human beings to not include the animals into their humane program.
Yeah, I understand what you mean. It is definitely, especially when we think about pets, because then it becomes so different. We've become much more involved and all of that.
It's more about our love for them than the animal itself, probably.
Now, how does your creative process look like? At what point do you then involve the technology?
Well, technology is... I'm kind of addicted to technology. I really like gadgets, and I really like them. On the other hand, I disapprove of them. We can get back to that later. But I know that when a new gadget or a new software is coming out, I like to jump on it and see how I can use it, or what it can do for me. What the aspects are and how I can use it in my work to express my view on existence.
You do follow with technology also when it comes out, and you try to incorporate it with your work as well.
Oh yes, and so lately photogrammetry and AI and VR are three technologies I embrace.
Is the AI entering this same kind of work that you are exposing here, or is this now geared to something new?
It's something new.
Any spoilers?
Well, it's a VR game, and it's the same. It's what you see here is the Animal Project. Is the beginning of the Animal Project, and now we are working on a VR game where you are interacting with the dead animals with the same models you see there, but you can collect them yourself and play with them. I won't spoil too much.
Yeah, just enough to kind of keep the interest up. What has been the most difficult part of creating the work that you're displaying here at Speculum Artium, or what has caused the most frustration?
It was surprisingly easy, but there was at one point I had to figure out how to get the models into VR for animating, because I animate in VR. And therefore I had to learn some 3D stuff I didn't know anything of because I'm traditionally a 2D animator. So that was a challenge for me, but I managed, and therefore it was also the happiest moment or one of the happiest moments of the whole process because I figured it out and it worked.
That's great. Having everything projected into a dome was kind of trivial then, if I understand correctly.
No, the projection in the dome is really easy. That's just one camera and you cut it. Now getting the models into the glasses to animate them. So I'm, animating in VR.
Yeah, I was just saying, I'm pretty surprised that the dome part is not that hard because it's like if I think about projecting into a dome from like a VJ perspective with just a regular projector back in the days, thinking about the dome seems like very daunting, but apparently things have progressed.
Well, for the artist, it's still kind of the same thing because you have one output, and then if you're projecting into a large dome theater, then the hard part is for the people that design the projection in the dome, that do the mapping and who have to calibrate the projectors and the servers and everything, which is not my part.
Yeah, that's fair enough. You mentioned
photogrammetry.
Yeah, you mentioned photogrammetry and AI and VR as the technologies. Is there any other technologies that you think are very promising for the development of new media art? And which new technologies are you most interested in at the moment?
Still AI.
Yeah, still AI.
Yeah, I'm using it right now. I cloned the voice of my deceased grandfather, which I use as a voiceover. And that's it's a wonderful aspect of AI. You can just really bring anything back to life. That's an ongoing thing in my work right now, reviving animals and humans.
Good. Then thank you for your time and congratulations for your exhibition.
Thank you for having me.
Ekola Next, z nami je Saša Nemec z delom, ki nosi naslov Po svetlečih poteh premoga 2, Skok čez kožo. To delo je večmedijska instalacija, ki se naslanja na kulturno dediščino Trbovlja in zdaj zaprtih premogovnikov. Instalacijo sestavlja video, kup premoga in pa projekcija. Na videu lahko v 3D digitalnem rovu prepoznamo trbovljske javne skulpture, ki jih dejansko lahko najdemo po mestu. Premog simbolizira zgodovino mesta in se skupaj s tekstilno kožo naslanja na tradicijo skoka čez kožo, ki je bil v bistvu ritual za vsakega novega rudarja. Projekcija pa čez skup tega premoga meče senco ognja, ki ga lahko vidimo le na steni. Poetično tako podoživlja čas, ko je bil premog iz Trbovlj gorivo za industrijo. Delo se tako ukvarja s polpreteklo zgodovino Trbovlj in ponuja umetniški oziroma alternativni način digitalizacije kulturne dediščine. Saša, kaj je bilo glavno vodilo oziroma vprašanje, zanimanje, interes, ki je sprožilo ustvarjanje tega dela, ki je na razstavi?
No, v bistvu jaz se že kar nekaj let ukvarjam pretežno z digitizacijo kulturne dediščine, tako nesnovne kot snovne. In v bistvu nekih oživljanja kulturnih običajev ali pa ohranjanja teh običajev skozi digitalne medije. Tako tudi za ta festival predstavljam eno od del, ki smo jih že nekaj let v bistvu producirali skupaj z Delavskim domom v Trbovlje. Torej v tem delu Po svetlečih poteh premoga, drugi del, se v bistvu zdaj že drugo leto ukvarjam z kulturno dediščino Trbovlj in Zasavja in mi je v bistvu to bilo kot za neko inspiracijo.
Potem v bistvu v tem oziru zdaj, če to že nekaj časa traja, kako izgleda ta tvoj ustvarjalni proces in v kateri točki potem vstopa tehnologija v to delo?
Ja, torej v bistvu, kot si že omenila, je pač to res večletni proces. Najraje skušam v bistvu vedno vplesti ne občinstvo, ampak prebivalce kraja, ki ga raziščem, oziroma nekega območja, ki ga raziščem, V tem primeru sem imela nekaj preliminarnih intervjujev z občani, nekateri so bili umetniki, nekateri so bile pač to gospe, ki tukaj živijo že celo življenje in tudi v bistvu poznajo to rudarsko življenje tudi z drugačnih perspektiv, ne, v bistvu in tako nekako umetniki, ki so bili včasih rudari ali pa v bistvu gospe, ki že celo življenje živijo v teh rudarskih območjih oziroma hišah, kjer so v bistvu so se zelo drugače in emocionalno spopadali z načinom življenja tukaj, ne. Ponavadi ob teh pogovorih nekako izvem več pač o območju, ker pač seveda kot nedomačinka ne moram pristopati z tem, kot bi lahko rekla, zunanjim očesom, ne. Nekaj more biti tukaj, ki me pač preplete s tem območjem oziroma ki me pač zanima. In skozi te pogovore večinoma krat dobim neko idejo, nek osnutek, nek preblisk, ki vidim, tukaj je pomembno. Hkrati pa mi tudi te občani dostikrat povejo, veste, to je ful pomembno, pa je neka stvar, ki jo ne boš pač ti v turističnem vodiču pač recimo prebral ali pa kaj podobnega, ker je pač dosti bolj osebno.
In na kateri točki potem tukaj vstopi tehnologija po vseh teh intervjujih in pogovorih?
Medij tehnologije jaz sama uporabljam tako, kot bi slikar Čopič ali pa uporabljal, ne vem, dleto in marmor, ne. V bistvu to je medij, ki ga jaz sama najbolj poznam in se najbolj poistovetim z njim. In je meni to samo ena tehnika, ki jo lahko uporabljam za sporočiti, kar si želim sporočiti. Tako da v bistvu tehnologija je vedno v ozadju, seveda, ker tehnologija pride s še večjimi v bistvu preprekami, kot bi neko drugi slikarski medij ali pa bilo kateri umetniški medij, ne. Tako da v bistvu je potrebno malo več planiranja kot pri neki drugi stvari, si predstavljam, nisem slikar, tako da mogoče slikari imajo tudi več priprav, kot si jaz predstavljam njihovo delo, ne. Je pa tako, da v bistvu je tehnološki vidik pole v nekem drugem planu zame.
Zdaj, pri tem delu tukaj si šla in si skenirala rov, ali kako?
Ne, rov ni tako lahko dostopen, žal. Sicer sem poskušala, ampak glejte, mogoče 3. leto projekta mi uspe priti noter v rov. Tako da rov je v bistvu oblikovan po nekih skicah, slikah, seveda, ki jih imamo iz rova, 3D modeliran, pa nekako po nekih schematikah, ki obstajajo, tako da se uživiš malček v ta rov, ni pa to, da bi bil prav točno ta rov. Seveda je pač tukaj tudi problematika, da te rovi so pač zdaj neki cajt že zaprti, ampak hkrati jih nekako z tehnologijo tudi ohranjamo pri življenju in ne mislim to samo skozi umetnost, ampak dobesedno je potrebno še vedno črpanje vode iz rovov, ker če ne se bo pač Trbovlje se bojo same sebe usule, ne.
No, zdaj, če že govorimo o tehnologiji, kako pa gledaš na ta hiter razvoj tehnologij in a se ti zdi pomembno, da umetniki sledijo tem trendom in tem tehnologijam za njihovo delo ali pa za sodobno umetnost nasploh?
Ja, kot sem že omenila, je zame tehnologija samo eden od medijev. Mislim, da tehnologija sama po sebi ne more nič reči. Ne, je tako, kot Čopič ne bo sam po sebi govoril. Dokler tukaj nimamo umetnika in njihove ideje in v bistvu njihove posebne perspektive na eno ali pa drugo stvar, tehnologija sama ne more pač nič narediti. In mislim, da zadnja leta, ko se ta tehnologija res malo bolj hitro razvija, smo opazili, da bo podobno kot pri tisku in televiziji, ne, vsaka stvar je lahko pozitivna ali pa negativna, odvisno kako jo uporabljaš. Ampak brez človeka in dejanja človeka v resnici sama ne zna nič.
Kaj ti je bilo pa najtežje pri ustvarjanju tega dela oziroma ti je povzročalo največ preglavic, mogoče tudi pri samem postavljanju v prostor zdaj na koncu?
Ja, tukaj jaz resnično upam, da je moj odgovor enak kot drugih intermedijskih umetnikov in da je tehnologija bila tista, ki je zmeram najslabša. Torej, v našem primeru mislim, da je bil pri koncu postavljanja se je pač v bistvu nekako smo ugotovili, da se tehnologija med sabo ne zna pogovarjati v istih jezikih. To pomeni, da pač med projektorjem in media playerjem. Vsak se je pogovarjal v svoji lastnem jeziku in se nista razumela med sabo. To pomeni, da tudi moje planiranje je šlo vse malo skozi v franže zaradi tega, ne? Ker tukaj imaš pač vseeno neko zelo kratko čas za postavljanje, ne? In z tehnologijo, ki jo nimaš doma, to pomeni pač in projektorji in podobne stvari. Ko prideš na lokacijo, je lahko vse drugače, če nimaš svoje opreme. Tako da to je vsako leto preglavica. Tako da v bistvu delo z tehnologijo je tudi pač to, da malček, kot bi rekla, da malček improviziraš na koncu in da se zadovoljiš s tistim, kar je ratalo, je tudi pač ena, mislim, da lastnost intermedijskega umetnika.
Tako da v bistvu ta na koncu je premog v resnici še najbolj zanesljiv del.
Ja, vendar, če je na zalogi, ker bi mogel biti rjav premog.
Pa je črn.
Je črn, ja, Poljaki niso izkopali tudi rjavga letos.
Ok, mogoče za konec še omenjala si, da tehnologija je pa samo eden od medijev, na tak način kot Čopič. Kakšna pa se ti zdi vloga oziroma pomembnost teh najnovejših tehnologij oziroma katero bi mogoče izpostavila, da je še najbolj obetavna za razvoj sodobne novomedijske umetnosti?
Mene, moram reči, v tem trenutku najbolj fascinirajo neke 3D izdelovanja, mogoče te CNC-ji in pač v bistvu neka orodja, ki v bistvu so vodena digitalno. V bistvu ta modelacija je prešla iz golega kiparstva v tem, da teoretično bi robot lahko izdelal nekaj podobnega kot kip. Ne? V bistvu jaz lahko 3D obliko računalniško zdaj zelo hitro izvozim, pa ni potrebno, da je to nek ta 3D tiskalnik, ki v bistvu naprinta neko grdo plastično stvar, ne? Ampak oziroma meni osebno grdo plastično stvar, vendar lahko pač že od kamna do prahu, pa mislim, da zdaj imamo že tudi za steklo, pa definitivno obstajajo načini printanja porcelana in podobnega, kar je meni zelo zanimivo, ker v bistvu meni pa kot recimo bivšo tekstilno oblikovalko, ne, in v bistvu ki izhajam iz tega 3D dela, a ne, in hkrati v tem trenutku delujem samo 100% digitalno, a ne, torej samo v digitalnem svetu, bi bilo zelo lepo začeti raziskovati spet fizične območja umetniškega dela.
Gre pa potem tukaj tudi za dostopnost teh mašin, ki bi, ne vem, printale marmor ali pa kaj drugega. Neverjetno je to zdaj še dosti v povojih in nedostopno za nekoga, kot smo mi, na primer.
Ja, tako je. Definitivno je treba biti malo fleksibilen pa spremljati evropske projekte, pa kdo je kaj na kupu. Mislim, da ker so neke stvari se skrivajo po depojih firm, ki so dobili evropske projekte. Pa umetniki bi zelo radi na vsi na tem delali.
Ok, najlepša hvala. Čestitke ob razstavljenem delu in črnem premogu, ki bi moral biti rjav.
Hvala.
Next with us is Gischel. Take Comfort presents itself as an interactive installation that fills the room with soft-looking textile orbs of varying sizes. At the helm of the installation sits a small desk with a typewriter, and while no one is typing on it, the room is filled with a low-tuned, darker, atmospheric music. But as soon as somebody sits by the desk and starts to type away, the orbs will slowly start to glow up one by one, and the music transitions into more soothing and melancholic sounds. The work is inspired by Roger McGough's poem of the same name, and the work thus explores the comfort and the potential of the written word that has seemingly the power of connecting people through time and space. Tell us your name so we have at least a reference for the pronunciation.
Gischel. And my artist name is Picaroon, because I'm active in two areas. So I'm an abstract painter, and I publish like my paintings under Gischel, and the installations I call myself Picaroon because my installations are always more like a collaboration between more people. This is why I have like an artist name for the installations.
This is like pre-questions.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's good. Yeah, I also
Yeah.
need to get into this.
So thank you for being here. Welcome.
Thanks for the invitation.
What was the main interest or kind of question that you wanted to research, or what kind of prompted the creative process for this work?
Well, basically, it was more like an inspiration, a personal story. 10 years ago, I was living in Scotland, but I had to leave Scotland and I didn't know what's next. So it was quite a challenging life situation. And 2 days before I left the country, there was a literature festival, and I just stumbled across a book by the British poet Roger McGough. And I just opened it and I found the poem Take Comfort. And this poem showed me for the very first time the power of the written word in giving like just comfort to each other, and to really like connect people over like the written word. So this poem became really important to me, and 10 years later or 8 years later, then I decided to build this installation based on this poem.
So in that sense, you kind of want people to have this connection through the work. Feels, in a sense, in a more abstract way than the poem itself would do?
Yeah, exactly. So the poem was just like the inspiration of getting into the topic. But because of the poem, I realized the beauty of literature and poetry. I'm really fascinated by how the written word can connect human beings across space and time. And so to speak, it can even overcome death, because you can hold a book in your hand which was written 200 years ago or 2000 years ago, and the authors are dead long ago, but you can still, by reading their thoughts, you can still like feel their presence and get their like inspiration, comfort, support, whatever it is. So yeah, this is what I want to show with this installation. So I'm bringing basically this beauty, I'm trying to bring it on another level, on the level of light and sound.
Certainly kind of feels the same way of bringing forward something that, like when you're saying that words can kind of carry on thoughts and ideas from that people, like I kind of can feel that in your work in a sense, because it feels that you're connecting to something deeper in a way.
Exactly. So also when I'm talking about words or literature and how it can connect people, it's not really about on the rational level about how one word can come from one person to the other. It's not about this level of the rational level. I'm more touched by, when you really feel the presence of a person or the spirit by their words. So it's more like this deeper level. And so this is why I used in this installation the level of light and music, because especially like the music is on a deeper level, on a more intuitive level than like the rational language.
I think in a sense what kind of works is as well when now that we have written history, but with oral history maybe it worked more in this way that you're talking about. Because as soon as you said that the word carries that, I also it reminded me that we always used to kind of carry the past with us, even through all our tradition before even the written word existed.
Yeah, true. Yeah. And also other forms, I was also thinking about, let's say the theater, which is also not about a written word, but, well, first you have the written word, but then you do something with it so that you feel the word in a sense. So I think it works in many ways.
How does your creative process look like? And at what point and in what way does technology enter the work? And how does it differ from your abstract painting?
Actually, it's not too different because I never, the way I see my art, to me art really needs to come from far down, from the inner world, from the subconscious level or even further down. So how I see it, there is like, of course, our conscious level, the subconscious level, but if you dig even deeper, which is very challenging and it doesn't work very easily and very often, but I have the feeling you can come to a level where you can even find something like universal truth, where we all are really connected. So to me, art should, at least my art, I try to bring my art to light from that level, and that means I'm not sitting down thinking rational about any concept or which technology do I want to use. Is more I invite probably the silence. I'm quite often for days just in nature, and I wait until some picture appears in my head. So for this installation, for instance, I didn't do installations for 2 years just because there was no picture in my head. It was COVID. And then suddenly I was at night in Munich, the city I live in a park, and there is a hill. And when I went up the hill, suddenly I had the final piece in my head. And then as a next step, then I sit down with people who collaborate, like my composer or my father, he's an electronical engineer, a friend of mine, a software engineer. So the technology like solution is always second. And then I try with the solution to come as close to the picture in my head as possible.
Considering that you work with technology as well, how do you view the rapid development of technology, and do you feel it's necessary to keep up with the trends and to integrate this technology in your work or generally in contemporary art?
Well, to me personally, it's not necessary at all. I even try to do the opposite. I even try to stay away from trends and to try to stay away from technological trends as well. Because I see a downside or a danger, let's say, to technology. Even though, I mean, I love technology and I include technology into my art installations, since there is this great opportunity to include the human beings into an artwork. But the danger to me is that we focus too much on technology. And so what I said before, to me, art needs to come from like this very deep human levels, from the subconscious level. And to me, technology works rather like on a rational level. When I program, is completely rational, of course. So it's really one as an artist in this field really needs to be careful to be in the technology area and to be rational, but at the same time to not forget about like the deep levels of the subconsciousness.
Like it's more a tool than a...
Exactly, yeah. So to me, it's always second.
Besides the fact that you spent almost 2 years before you kind of came up with this idea, or you didn't think about it for 2 years, but it needed to brew inside of you, I guess.
Yeah.
What was another kind of major difficult part or something that really frustrated you during the development of this project?
For this installation, that was really nice because the process was for me a kind of comfort. So there was no real frustration, and there were rather like challenges, but more like challenges where I had a feeling I'm learning a lot. I think the main challenge was working together with the composer. So the composer is Teresa Zaremba. She's a good friend of mine, and we worked together already for many installations. And for this piece, I thought it's a rather easy brief. I told her that when there was nobody writing at a typewriter, the music should be rather dense, unpleasant, and as soon as somebody starts to write, it should turn into like a warm, inviting, comforting atmosphere. And she's like, yeah, okay, but how does comfort sound to you? And this is when I realized that it's, first of all, it's really hard to talk about music, like on this emotional level, like which kind of sound really comforts me. It's very hard to explain and to figure out in the first step. And secondly, it's very individual. So we realized in this process, and it took us 1 year to work on this music. In this process, we figured out that which music sounds like comfort to me doesn't sound like comfort for her, and the other way around. So it was quite an interesting concept where we talked a lot about emotions and how does it feel and so on. And we were experimenting a lot with different instruments and sound snippets and everything.
So how did you end up settling on a sound or on a composition in the end for this? Was it like a compromise? Did you ask other people to kind of for input?
No, so this installation is also a very personal installation. So I told you about the beginning story, that it was a challenging phase of my life at that time when I stumbled across like this poem, Take Comfort, but also in the whole process of building this installation was like comfort, where I worked together with like really great people. So also for creating the music, I was not trying to find some, let's say, mainstream sound of comfort which fits to as many people as possible, because this to me would be more like design, where I try to, make user tests with my target group or so. So I was in a field of design previously, but for art I really try to create something which I can feel 100%, hoping that then there will be some others who can also feel it. So at some night, my composer just sent me this snippet, which then became like the final piece, and I immediately felt it. I felt the comfort, and so we knew like this will be the snippet we start to work on.
Then there is another component in this work, which is basically not just about the artwork and the spectator, but also the spectator interacting with your vision in a sense of you as a person and personhood with certain emotions, certain affiliations. So it is also about you in a sense.
Yes, I guess. I guess if you create art in the way I do it, where I try, as what I described before, to really dig down into my like inner worlds to find something. I think it's unavoidable to create art, which is basically always about the artist.
Yeah, I think it's completely fair enough to kind of put yourself in the work and be part of it.
I'm also
it's one way to do it.
Yeah, so in that way, also for my abstract paintings, it's very similar. So I always paint at night, and it's always a process where I try to get away from my rational part and a rational, like a controlling way of working, and I try to come closer to my intuition. It's like getting in trance at some point. And of course, it's very individual because it's my inner world and my subconscious which I bring to light. But at the same time, I hope that far down we are, what I said before, we are somehow connected. So I would hope that some other people could also perceive or feel the artwork on a subconscious level, so that we basically skip like the bridge over like the rational understanding, where there's so much room also for misunderstanding and personal experiences. It's more further down, like a more direct connection. This is at least how I hope my artworks would work or connect with human beings.
So one last thing, you did mention that you're not really into technology in that sense, but do you think is there a type of emerging technology or something new that would really benefit this field of art, new media art? Like something that is really shows perspective?
Yeah, what I told you before, I see this great danger. I think, at least like to the way I do art, so I always try to stay away from the trends a bit, but at the same time, of course, it's very beneficial to have, for instance, all the electronics become so much cheaper and they are so much more powerful than they were like 5 years ago. And so in my process, where I first have the picture in my head and then I need to find a technical solution, of course, it's very beneficial if it's so much easier to realize some ideas in the head on the technological
side. So it's
side.
the access then basically that you see as the biggest potential with newer technology.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you.
Cool. Thank you. That was fun.
And now with us
Brin, Žvan
and
Mathias Schifter
z delom Presenter Slides. Presenter Slides is at its core a computer game that presents itself as a 90s office-oriented software. The game is displayed in a fashion that resembles an old booth at a computer conference from the 80s and 90s, including CD copies that can be purchased, license included. The artist developed the game during the MA studies for an exam. It was inspired by a research paper about abusive game design. To complete the game, the player is faced with several mini-games, all with their distinct type of gameplay. The narrative loosely follows a person's routine day with work, exercise, and commuting, which ends up leading towards a boss battle against the devil. The presented work serves as an artwork, an experiment, an indie game, and the presentation for the exam. The game is also available on Steam. So first question. So what was the main interest or question that prompted the creative or research process for this work?
So we read a research paper by Michael Sicard, and Douglas Wilson, about abusive game design. It's a way where you mess with the player and don't just give players in video games what they want. We wanted to dive deeper into this, so we sort of broke it up into even more fine categories.
Yeah, we were working on a research paper where we, like Mathias said, broke this down into finer categories. And then instead of prescribing categories to already existing games, we wanted to make a game that is based on the categories that the paper defines.
Yeah, it was a good way to make a bunch of small games within a big game. So that was our motivation.
Yeah.
Are you also big gamers yourself?
No,
not at all.
Not a gamer, no.
The moment you start making video games, you stop playing them.
No.
So you are like ex-gamers.
No, not gamer. I don't like that word.
Which word would you prefer?
I play games.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I play games as well.
Which ones? I played a weird game with some friends just before coming here, where you like dive in a submarine and you try to clean up after a chemical corporation, and it's a lot of fun, a lot of chaos. It's called Murky Divers.
Does it help you playing a game when then later designing a game?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, we both work commercially with other video games that are more commercial and maybe higher chance of making money than this project. We sell CDs here at the showcase, but we make €5 per CD. So it's a different scale than trying to sell a game to the whole world and try to live off it. So
for sure.
What was the question again? I get distracted.
No, I was just interested in other games that may interest
you. Yeah,
you.
for sure. We get inspired. We look at games, we look at their mechanics, we look... Like we are game designers. I'm a programmer, but we are game designers as well. So we always look at mechanics, what is out there, what is new, what has been done, what hasn't been done. Motivates us, drives us, you know?
But I think it's also important to like look outside of games for inspiration because games as a medium are very self-referential. It's like very prevalent in the way that we describe games. It's like you say, oh, this is like Call of Duty, but with robots. Or you say, oh, this is like Super Mario, but if Mario was fast and a woman, and then you have Celeste or something like that, right? So I think it's important like to draw inspiration from outside of games as well. And this abusive games paper that Mathias is talking about, it was interesting to us because it looks at a side of video games that is not often explored. So trying to cause less positive emotions in the player, like maybe annoyance, or we get the player to work out in the video game. Like we pull up the camera, tell them, go do a squat.
Make the player embarrassed or something like that. Because they're doing like exercise in front of a bunch of people in a room, like up here in the exhibition hall. It's fun for everyone else to see, and it's a little embarrassing for the player. Yeah. We use that as a mechanic to like mess with the player, those sort of things. Yeah, exactly. And we have a lot of fun as developers because of that.
I bet you. How does your creative process look like? At what point does the technology enter the work? Is it from the beginning, or is, as you said, a paper was first inspiration and then came the technology?
Yeah, I mean, there's the theory, right? But then we start with the engine, right? We make prototypes. We make prototypes fast. Mm-hmm. And we make a lot of them and a lot of different things. So the game has like 8 different mini games or whatever in it. And we just made them like all the time different games. So we put it into reality in the engine like as quick as we can.
Yeah.
But technology, I don't know. But we just use the game engine.
Yeah, I mean, technology is a very broad term, right? Like it's also like at the end of the day, technology is not just computers, right? And I mean, games are not just video games, but we are directly working with a video game medium. So it's like we're dead without technology, kind of like it's not like we do something on paper. Yes, we maybe sometimes do some stuff on paper first or like think about it. But it's like the way that we express ourselves is through making software, essentially, right? Technology is a big part, I guess, of the process.
And how long does it take you to...
So the whole process was 6 months, but a lot of it was also writing papers and doing research.
Yeah, so
you can't really count that in. Yeah.
This was our master's thesis, which is why it was 6 months, because we wanted to do it in 1 semester. You know, you could make a video game in a weekend, or you could make a video game in like several years. And we're currently both working on commercial projects that have been in development for several years. But before that, we made a lot of small games together that were done over a weekend or over a week.
You would make games in like 3 hours or 1 hour, sometimes even micro games where you gotta click like one time on the screen and the game is over. Yeah,
it's like really stretching like the definition of what exactly a game is as well. Yeah. So
your other games that you already did together, are those games also to not be pleasant for the person who is playing, or is this the first game that is intentionally mean to the player?
In art design history, it's probably the first like intentional one.
Yeah.
But we definitely brought it. I have, at least when I make my games now, I use this design things we have learned from here to make more subversive games that tell more interesting stories. Use these mechanics to... I work on a narrative game, but it's also like a cute supermarket pixelated game. But we bring some of that story and use... make the player feel bad for their actions, what they've done in the game and things like that. Just to make it more...
You shame them.
Yeah. There's like a riot in my game.
Yeah, because, in this game, as I could see, it's very creative, right? Because, for example, in my mind, Dark Souls game, it's also frustrating and the person who is playing is also not happy and mad and feels maybe shame or whatever. But it's on a whole different level. This one is is smaller, is more cute, it's more versatile. It has a camera, as you said. It's more all over the place.
Yeah, we wrote like a categorization of like 9 different categories. And games like Dark Souls, Dark Souls is a hard game, but there's also games that are even harder. It's like a spectrum where you like games that are like almost impossible to beat. So like few people can beat it, and if you play them over and over, like Benefides getting over it. You just try to climb and you fall all the way to bottom and you start over. So there's a lot of games that use these sort of like
Do you like
super
these
hard.
Games?
What? No, I don't really have the patience or the time for that.
I like them a lot.
Yeah.
But that's, I guess, like I'm on the other end of the spectrum in like what kind of games I play and make as well.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think it's interesting because here we kind of like combined what we're both interested in.
Yeah. Brin makes 1-button bosses. Go buy it now on Steam. It's out the last month. Yes. Support your local developers.
Yes.
Yes, you do. You should.
It's like Dark Souls, but with 1 button.
Okay, we're talking about games and technology that is actually integrated in all of this work through software, obviously. But how do you, more generally speaking, how do you see or how do you view the rapid development of technology? Do you think it's necessary to keep up with trends in contemporary art sphere?
I maybe want to preface this by saying that like we're not like artists ourselves, as in like this is not our main occupation. So maybe we don't feel the same pressure that somebody who like is chasing art grants might feel to keep up with something like this. But I think we both agree that like a lot of the new technology that is being developed, it's inaccessible. It's like VR, for example, like even in like the developed, rich Western imperial core, there's very few people that have a VR headset at home. So if you're making something for a VR headset, that's something that like either needs to be 1 in a museum that needs to be rich enough to afford a VR headset, or 2, you distribute it online to people, and then you automatically disqualify a bunch of people that don't have a VR headset. And you're not even thinking about like the third world countries, developing countries with poorer economies where people cannot afford this sort of things. So I think like in both of our works, we try to like make the technological barriers be small and low, which is maybe like why, in this work, this video game runs, I think, at like a 320 x 180 resolution or something like that, which is very pixelated. This is like 4 times less than a standard monitor these days. But it makes it so that this can run on like a 15-year-old computer I got off Bauhaus now, right? And that makes it more accessible. So we feel like a lot of times technologies like VR and like high fidelity graphics or even AI, it's just like something is added in, which maybe looks exciting on paper, but in reality, it makes the work less accessible because now you're increasing hardware requirements for the work, and good hardware is expensive.
That's why you put it on CD. It's also a bit inexpensive because where do I put my...
It's also available online for free on Steam and on itch. The CD part is playing with what the game is and where the game starts, because we kind of see the CD, like you getting a CD and you having to figure out, okay, who still has a computer with a CD drive? That's a part of the game in a way.
Yeah, you have to go to your parents' basement and dust off the old computer. It's an experience in itself. Whatever, find it at like your library or whatever, just to play the game. But you don't have to. You can just find it online still.
Yeah.
It's more like a good gimmick to bring to like an event like this.
Yeah.
And we do like a whole performance art as well when we sell our game. That's why we wear suits and we do like a whole sales pitch, and Brin is the best used CD salesman.
Yeah, the EERIE said that because when we were watching your work, nobody was there, and he was like, yeah, they're supposed to be here and trying to sell us this.
Yeah.
We took a break.
Yeah.
As you should. Okay, in that sense that you mentioned about VR and all these things, but what technology do you find promising on one hand for maybe the contemporary art and new media, and also for gaming industry?
We talk a lot about so we use game engines when we make games. And this game, for example, is made in Unity, which has some terrible business practices and the way people have to pay for the game. There's way better engines out there like Godot and other ones. I don't know if you wanna...
I don't know, like Cat.js, like just like things
bunch of really cool indie
yeah.
engines that can make really fun things.
And they are open source and are like nobody owns them, right? And it's like at any point if you dislike a change that the tool made or like the developers of the tool made, you don't have to follow that. Like you can change it on your own. And we think like that is exciting, like seeing like new tools enter a space that democratize game development and that give more power to the people. And it's not about like some corporation wanting to make money with the tool. Especially if we look at the creative space as a whole. I mean, like Adobe has like a tight grip on every creative person that uses a computer, and that is a horrible company. And we all know their horrible business practices. If you ever tried canceling a subscription, it's like you need to pay them to cancel a subscription service, right? You move into the 3D space. Blender is very popular. It's an open source piece of software, which is amazing, but some of its competitors like Autodesk, also horrible company, charges you like sometimes by the hour on some of the products that you use, right? So it makes us excited to see like the open source space compete and gain an audience and people that use the tools. And hopefully we follow. Hopefully we can also use those tools soon.
Yes.
For the end, if we touch upon your actual work, how it stands right now, did you have any difficult part of maybe setting up the whole thing, or maybe the whole process had some ups and downs you would mention?
So we made it like 2 years ago and we had to hand it in for like an exam. We had to write a paper. So it was not really important that the game was perfect.
Yeah.
So the paper was a priority.
Yeah.
But actually, no. We got like the most mediocre grade you could get. But then we can submit it to things like this because the game turned out fun in the end. But it meant like we had to make a compromise between academia and the game. But academia also gave us the space to make the game because we didn't need to make money on it.
That was, I guess, like the technical hurdle, having to write the paper in the background.
Yeah, but I sat like 3 hours today trying to fix a camera issue. So yeah, there are hurdles, like because it's not a perfect software. It's not a well-polished thing. It's made for the fun of it. So yeah.
Yeah, and also if you let the people touch it and do stuff on it, they can like break it, right? I mean, not physically, but before we were sitting there and I obviously got frustrated because I was like trying to do something quick, nothing worked. And I was like, oh, fuck this shit, I'll delete. And then we are in Windows now. Oh shit, I hope they don't have password. It's like, so people can, press things and maybe destroy something.
Yeah, and they will.
Yeah.
But
I think it's like a bit of a futile battle sometimes trying to stop this. But also this is the first time, I guess, that we're exhibiting this on a multi-day exhibition. Or like in an exhibition where we're going to go away for a while and we're not standing next to the computer all the time.
Yeah.
More that, yeah. We're not standing next to the computer all the time. So it's like usually it would be like we're exhibiting this like in multiple spaces and something would go wrong, but one of us would be there and would be like, oh, sorry, let me fix this. Also buy our CD. Buy our CD, please. It won't happen at home, we promise.
Okay, thank you very much for joining us for this short chat. And go buy a CD.
Thank you, dear audience, for sticking with us till the end, and thank you, Speculum Artium, to have hosted us and to have provided a room where we can record. Thank you to all our guests, and you can find our past episodes on all the main streaming services like YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcast. And we also share the newly added episodes on our new Instagram account. The music for the intro and outro was provided by Emma Kobal and Urse Szmr. Leave us a comment and a like on the episodes. Don't forget to subscribe and please donate a coffee on our Buy Me a Coffee. Thank you, bye!
Thank you, hvala, bye bye! Saško!
Ja sem zdaj kriva, to sem se vse sama kriva. To ni COVID, man.
Today I had pizza. It was great. It was the perfect choice for lunch.
Jedla sem piščančje trakcije. V kazami. pomfri, pa goveja juha je bila za predjed. So boni za umetnike.
Aha, ja.
No cheese. Zero cheese.
Pay attention. Yeah,
Open grilled. I don't know.
It was a vegetarian pizza without the cheese because the cheese is not vegan.
How big is it?
It's like 60 megabytes, but like the game
That wouldn't fit. No.
that wouldn't fit.
You need so many. One of the bigger diskettes or the smaller
3.5, right? Or something like that. It's 3.5 megabytes per floppy.
No, 1.44.
1.44, okay. But it was also, to be fair, like we were not, like we...
now you have to scale it down and make it fit.
Yeah. No, but it was like, at some point, like we didn't even have, like we sold CDs, but like the CDs didn't have the game on it. It was just like wallpapers and a license and like some joke TXT files. But we thought like, okay, if we sell it in CDs, somebody, like you can find a computer with a CD in your parents' basement or something like that.
I'm still thinking that I need to buy a CD-ROM, like just in case.
But like there's a chance, right? That like somebody you know or something like that has this. Whereas like for floppy disk, I feel like the chance is way lower.
I think now it's easier to find a floppy disk.
You think so?
Yeah, because there's more interested in that era of retro.
I guess.
but it's not yet in use probably. I think CDs are still easier. You know, when, for example, many times it happens that we have a contemporary art exhibition and an artist has a digital video that wants to be, he wants it to be on old TV, for example, and then all the producers have to find adapter from Raspberry Pi and they cannot do it, but wait, we have DVD players. Oh shit, now we have to find the computer that we can burn this shit through the USB key on this CD, so then we can put it on DVD player. So we already
you
done
could
that.
alternatively put that on a small SD card.
Yeah, or a USB stick.
Because a SD card looks a bit like a cartridge.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It was an interesting experience figuring this out. It's now CDs and it stays CDs for this one, but I think it's also fun just to make something physical as well.
There was a guy